When in doubt, power down.
That's why I said, I unplug it right out of the wall. Wait a little while and then plug it back in again. Works all the time.
We have a select board person. Did anybody ever do that?
That's on the agenda.
No?
All right, so I can cancel my text to Lonnie.
It's ironic that I saw him a few hours ago.
Tell him we miss him.
I did. All right, everybody ready?
We're ready.
All right. We're gonna open the meeting. It's, what, 7:30? 7:33? All right, first item on the agenda is the E.L. Harvey contract update.
Still nothing yet. Still with legal on E.L. Harvey side, so still waiting on E.L. Harvey.
I think they have,
They do have a lot. That's what Mike Sussman said.
okay, expire and
Yeah.
renew at the same time, so they're probably just overwhelmed.
Yeah,
But our people approve the,
addendum, correct.
so we're good. So that's still pending.
Mhm.
Mendon landfill update.
All right, so at our last Board of Health meeting on July 26th, the Board of Health had approved the agreement with Atlas for the third-party inspector, along with the permit modification to reduce the amount of testing to the gas monitoring aspect that is done per year. Tonight, we have the Atlas agreement for this fiscal year to continue with the monitoring of the old Mendon landfill for gas and groundwater monitoring that needs your signature.
Okay, it's been blessed by legal.
It has been blessed by legal.
What was decided on the TPI aspect?
That was the agreement that was that last Board of Health meeting. That one was approved by the Board of Health.
Oh, that was
last meeting.
TPI.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that's the one we signed, right?
Yep. It was a TPI and the modification of the lists. Permit
Yeah, the
modification.
application to reduce testing.
Yes,
Yep.
correct.
Okay, cool.
Yep.
Awesome.
Yeah, Tom,
So-
thank you for staying on top of this.
No worries.
Well,
See what
can
comes
I just ask a question about this? Because this has always been bothersome to me.
And the
That
phone, I
we're-
see the phone in your side.
Yeah, that we're paying for their system that they did illegally. And I can understand why we would be paying for the town dump that was there. But why are we paying for the one that they did illegally?
Good question. I'm open to discussion.
I wouldn't be surprised if there was some sort of agreement, whether it be verbal or written back then between whoever was representing the town and the Ferrucci
Well,
family
they lost their battle.
in court.
In court for, that's why they was stopped. And it would seem to me that because this is expensive, this is
Oh.
costing us.
And it's been going
and
on for,
That's
over
right.
30
I didn't
years.
realize that, I mean, I was around when, Shea Engineering did the plan and I was, on the Board of Health and watching all that stuff and I don't ever remember us paying for. They had to pay to do the reconstruction. And then, of course, I ended up leaving the Board of Health like not too long after that. So I just don't understand why. I mean, that is a lot of money for us to be paying for something we did not.
well, yeah, I mean, if it's $10,000 a year, 30 years, it's $300K.
Well, keep in mind though, a portion of that would be required anyway, even for the piece of land that the town operated the dump on.
Right.
We're really only talking about the portion of land where the illegal aspect was taking
Right,
place
exactly.
on the other part of the land.
And when, back in the day, they used to burn that trash there too. It
Right.
wasn't always, it wasn't buried, it
Right.
was burned and then Yeah.
How did it become? Let's go back even further.
Okay.
How did it become, and approximately when did it become the Mendon Town Dump? Do we know?
No, I don't know, because it was
I mean-
always, from the get-go, it was Ferrucci's dump, and we paid him to, you know, to use it. We-
Okay, so-
Back then,
Say,
so then, okay,
telling me that, that means that he was in the
driver's seat,
landfill business?
yeah, he was,
So if that is the way it was and we were paying a fee
yep,
to dump town trash on his property,
we did,
then I have to say, why are we responsible at all?
right,
Was there ever an agreement
If that
Back-
was his business.
that the town would assume responsibility for that? Because that's the only
don't
way.
know how that happened, quite frankly, because I mean, I spent a lot of time, I spent a whole summer in court fighting that he did that, you know, I mean, the old story is, my friend called me and said, what's going on? And I was brand new, you know, and I was like 23 years old. And I came up there and I said, I'll go look. But before I did that, I went to look at the town bylaws, because I went to the selectman's office and looked at what the laws were, you know, and what was happening, could they be bringing trash in? And as it happened, that my sister-in-law lived in Carver, and they were doing that in Carver, and Carver stopped them in Carver, down near the Cape, you know, so. Because my sister-in-law was telling me about that. So I called her and said, who could I talk to? So I called the lady in Carver that was there, and she said, absolutely, they can't be doing that. And when I went, so then I went to stop them, and there was this big, like DC-9 or whatever you call them, things, the wheels were as big as, you know, anything, and this guy was there and he was doing it, and I kept telling him, stop, you know. And I said to him, because he was in the groundwater, you know, and I said to him, stop, you can't be doing this. You're near the river, B, you're in the groundwater. He says to me, he gets off this thing and he was this really big guy, and I'm not ever afraid of big guys because I'm tall myself and it doesn't bother me. He had his cigarettes in his shirt here, and he says to me, lady, that ain't groundwater. That's just water on the ground. Like, hey, and then Jimmy Ferrucci comes running out when he sees me, and I said, look, you have to stop this. He said, this is my property. I don't have to, it's my property. I can do anything I want here. I said, no, you cannot. You cannot do anything you want. So then I had to go see the selectman. And because I was, you know, I was just a nurse, they wouldn't let me see the attorney. So Bill Ober, you know, Bill and Brownie Vincent, that's how I got to know Brownie Vincent. I went to them because I didn't know them, but I knew Bill Ober. And so they were on the finance committee at the time. And I said, you know, look, this is what's happening. I showed them the laws and look, and they said, yeah, we'll go with you to the select board, because the select board was all like buddy, you know, he was, what was he? He did the spaghetti supper for the Boy Scouts, and, you know, he was Mr. Mendon. And I was not. And so it was terrible. I mean, finally, they let me go and see the attorney, Nofri, and his wife was having a baby. He said she was 10 months pregnant. Could you, he was, you know, could you just, I said, but I had everything done for him, you know, so that we could do it. And they had people trying to have me recalled. Jimmy Ferrucci, we were in the fire station, you know, over there in the top there in the building, and he said, I'm gonna kill you. Now, truth. Because
Well,
you're stopping us. This is, we can do anything we want. But anyway, then we spent the summer in court.
Good.
And I knew that if I knew that he was gonna say to me, look, I've closed the dump, said, now what are you gonna do? I mean, I just knew that, I just knew it. And I had already made arrangements with Farah and Cardy to, you know, with the board, you know, but, and so said, look, we've got to find somebody else. And I had an arrangement so that there was a telephone pole that they were gonna put across the thing, and I mimeographed
Wow.
all these papers that said, go to Farah and Patty to the dump. And so got home from court. It was a Friday. And he called me and he said to me, you think you won? You didn't win. I'm closing the dump. Now what are you gonna do? That I have a policeman out there. On Friday, it was Saturday, because Saturday was dump day. And Farah and Patty took over, and then the rest is history, you know.
But to your point, I don't even know how we would research to find out. what type
How
of
we got
agreement.
stuck, how we got stuck paying.
Right, but if he was the business entity and the town was paying him a fee, then I would think the responsibility would be on the business owner,
Right,
who was also at the time the landowner. However, when you call it the Mendon Town Dump, that could give people the impression,
Run by the town.
right?
but it was never called the Mendon Town Dump, it was Ferrucci's dump. I mean,
Okay,
you
well,
talk to anybody around here, when it's like, from my vintage.
Mhm.
You know, if they still have a memory together, they will say, you know, there was a town dump,
yeah, I guess I'm,
yeah,
we've always referred to it.
as the Mendon landfill, I
Right.
know.
And that's on the
But-
paperwork, I think that Mass DEP has, I think they refer to it as Mendon landfill.
Maybe you should have town council vet it, go back and see if there was ever some understanding or an agreement.
That's
with
what
the
that's
town.
what I-
Kids in this town,
Yeah,
it would be very tough.
yeah.
Well, I mean, honestly, they can go to the registry of deeds to see if there was ever any transfer of the title. If it still is in Ferrucci's name, to Joyce's point, you know, the town now, even though the town was dumping, maybe you can get an opinion from town council. Are you responsible for that portion that maybe is not owned by the town, the monitoring of it?
Right.
But to Tom's point, we're only monitoring the part that the town used.
Well, I'm of the belief that we're monitoring.
I doubt it
both-
because
everything.
they had to, we had to close that. I mean, Ed Shea has a plan that will show you that he they had to do the part that they were doing, that they were.
Right, there's like a post-closure
Right,
agreement
yeah,
that's
and
done,
they had to do,
and that's how they come up with the monitoring of it.
right,
you
There's
know.
5 or 6 test wells, I believe, that they
right,
get their
not cheap.
samples from, and I believe they're spread out amongst both portions.
right.
Not to mention like the mowing. I mean, do you guys have to mow it? Is the board responsible?
They're
for
supposed to
mowing?
do that, the landowner.
Yeah,
Because
to
they've
my
done it
knowledge,
in
the
the
town has
past.
never done any maintaining
So,
of
Oh,
it.
I thought it was done.
By the town?
Yeah, no, by the landowner.
No, that's what I'm saying. To my knowledge, the town has never done any of the
Right.
maintenance.
Because I remember a number of years back, the people that were coming out to do the inspection would ask us in some form if it had been mowed. Because they wanted it mowed before they came out. It made it easier for them to do their job. You know,
absolutely. Yeah, because you have to be able to see.
at that time, we had some communication with the living relative that was on the property.
Mhm.
Right,
You know, the communication went pretty well and you could find out if it had been mowed.
Yeah, you might want to look into it just because as you move forward, you know, especially with the horrible weather we've been having, you know, if there's any, has that been capped? You know,
Yes,
if
it
there's
was.
any damage to the cap, that's very expensive. You know, you want to make sure that the berms are all in place and that there's not any erosion going on, tree growth that interferes with the, you know, with the monitoring of the gas and everything.
Right, and I think that's why they're supposed to mow it. I don't
Yep.
know if it's an
So that they don't have
annual
any
or it's
trees, yeah.
semi-annual, to keep all those saplings from
Right, yeah.
sprouting. I have no idea what condition it's in
Mm,
today.
that's the thing.
Well, that's why the Mass DEP a few years ago, I want to say 2014 or so, came up with a new requirement
Mhm.
where the town had to report every 2 years, do an actual inspection and file a report.
Right. Third
We
party
didn't- yeah.
inspection.
Yeah, we didn't know about that until about 2018, and the only reason we learned about it at the time was because something had come up about the landfill, and looking at some documentation, it appeared as though the 30-year period of testing was up. So I started inquiring as to whether or not we could end the testing, and that's when the conversation started with Jim McQuaid. And it led to that, chances are we're probably always going to have to do some type of
Absolutely.
testing, just because the EPA has strengthened over the years and environmental requirements have only gotten stronger. He said chances are with the gas monitoring, I could see potentially reducing or eliminating, because the results, based on what I've seen over the years consistently, have been very, very good.
Mhm.
So that's what I was at least hoping for. What the cost element of that piece versus the groundwater, I'm not sure of, but it would be some savings of some kind, right? And then in the process of talking with him about that, came up with he brought up the landfill inspection. I said, what landfill inspection? He goes, well, it's supposed to be inspecting the landfill every 2 years. I said, geez, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, we were focused on trying to get reduction of testing done through multiple conversations, and then trying to get confirmation from the landowner. And we're having some difficulty actually with solidifying that communication. And then COVID hit.
Mhm.
And then so for really the last 3 years or so, it took a back seat.
Yep.
And now it's come back up again. And so
Yep.
that's where the TPI came in from Atlas, because the folks at Atlas who did our testing, they were based in Rhode Island. And when I talked further with these folks, they referred us to their Springfield office. And they actually have people on staff who are certified inspectors. So now what's going to happen is the office in Springfield is going to take over everything.
Mhm.
So they're going to take over the testing, and they're going to start to implement an inspection as part of it.
What if we get through this agreement with Atlas? Let them, they're gonna come in, they're gonna do their testing, they're gonna get the paperwork prepped for a possible reduction, right?
Yep, yep, yeah, we're going to file the application.
Yeah, so let's, what if we let this process start to play out? And based on the results, then we decide who to approach to research, because it's possible. I mean, if we've spent, I think it's $10,000 a year, right?
I want to say it's like 20.
20, okay,
Yeah.
so it's a $300,000 to $600,000 over the period of 30 years. Maybe there is a possibility through legal
Mhm.
to get some advice on whether or not maybe we could recoup some of that if the property were to sell or change
Which is on
hands.
sale. It's for sale right now.
Okay, so maybe we could put
That's-
some kind of a lien
That's what,
on
Right,
it,
right. That's what I was saying, you know, you
Get
should
a-
check with council, have,
get reimbursed for some, I mean, or all.
Yeah.
But again, I know the records are really kind of poor. So I don't know what we could find in paper. Was that original agreement? I mean, there's no reason we can't start looking.
if there was an agreement that the town assumed the responsibility, I would imagine that maybe even DEP may have some you know, it would be worth a call to Mr. McQuaid to see what they have, unless you've reviewed those records and seen anything.
So if we were paying a fee
Mhm,
for the residents to dump there.
mhm.
And you can look at, you
Right,
can
that
go
he
back,
was in
right
that-
then, you can go back and look at that
Mhm.
first, because that's gotta be recorded.
Well, yeah,
back-
somewhere.
Way
the
back in the
bookkeeping-
thing, the bookkeeping.
I mean, it's on
Yeah.
paper, it's,
Yeah.
but somewhere on
Because I'm sure,
paper,
I know he wasn't doing it for nothing,
yeah, it has to show,
by the way.
it has to show payments. And if it shows payments in my limited knowledge of the legal world, that means that he was in that business.
Mhm.
Yeah,
If he's in that business, again, in my limited legal, then unless we sign some kind of an agreement taking the responsibility,
Right.
it
right.
should go with the business owner.
Mhm. That's what you're looking for, is that document. Was there some, I mean, you could even vet it, go back and even through Board of Selectmen minutes. You know, if they still have them, you could go back and vet it yourself. I mean, that's what town council's gonna, they're gonna look at the Worcester Registry of Deeds first and see who the legal owner is. Then, you know, if we can't come up with some sort of an agreement that the town assume the responsibility, then they're gonna go back and see, you know, maybe through the minutes and see if there was some sort of agreement. Did Mr. Ferrucci ever come before the board? Did they agree to assume responsibility?
So we'd have to go back before the legal case that shut it down.
yeah,
All
Yeah.
that documentation,
yeah.
right,
for
you're
the-
right.
Right,
the-
so-
The court, the
Right,
court
so
hearing. and
that was
stuff.
the end of it,
Right,
when we could probably.
of both things, both. 'cause
Right.
He thought, you know. he
Right,
was
but we
gonna-
could probably, yes, based on that. Was it 5 years? Was it 10 years? Was it 15 years? And back,
Mhm.
go back from that date to try to find a window of time that we
Right.
need to look.
The post-closure agreement would tell you also. You know, because that was a document that, you know, that's the understanding
Okay,
and the agreement of
where
the
do you think
parties.
that document would be? Would that be in Board of Health files?
It may be, but the DEP would have it too, right? Did you happen to see it like when you were reviewing anything?
No, and at one point, I know Jim was gonna look to see if he could find anything.
Yeah.
That was regarding a closure type of document.
Yeah, you could
But-
even start, you know, with your own archives, with your own little files. Is there a landfill file that exists in the Board of Health office?
Not to my knowledge, not that I've seen in the files that I've been in.
Anything
Well,
ever
and-
archived?
I know,
It would be something that would be attached to that address.
I know upstairs, there's a bit of an archive.
You know what else too?
In this, well, in the next door.
Okay.
The registry of deeds.
Those wooden files.
Let's
or
look at
whatever.
on there first to see,
I'm pretty
because they would have recorded that.
sure that.
Well, that we
that's
could
never
probably do
been,
online.
Absolutely.
that's never been put out over to us, that property, never. I'm pretty,
Yeah.
pretty sure. Because then, you know, the front house there, that,
Jimmy.
young
Little
Jimmy,
Jimmy, yeah.
yeah, yeah. Lived in,
Mhm.
we had to make them know that what was happening, what happened there, and that they would be, you know, their property was being tested too, I think, or that they were, it was something that we had to make sure that they,
Must have had like well monitoring too.
Right.
Yeah, we actually
Right.
had that
For the-
conversation. I believe
Because
Ronnie
he
was
came
on
to
that
me-
night.
that woman came to me, because I was now done with them, you know, I was out of the whole picture and I was working for Shea Engineering at that point. And she came to me and asked me about what it was and what they did and all the things, and, you know, I told her.
In your spare time. Go online to the Registry of Deeds. Search that address.
What's the address?
28 Bellingham?
Sounds right.
28 Bell?
28 Bellingham.
See what you come up with. I mean, to me, that would be a starting point. The only other thing would be, I don't know if going into the DEP
I'm pretty
files.
sure that the
you
town
can
has no
find-
deed up to that property did not revert to the town. I'm
Right, well,
positive of that.
What I'm thinking is if you went in through the DEP side and searched the address or searched landfill applications or cap, whatever you call it, capping,
Yep,
you know, that there's, you probably have to go from a couple different angles and see what
oh,
you
absolutely.
find.
Would Shea Engineering have any paperwork since they did the capping?
They have a plan,
Just a plan though.
yeah,
Sure.
Yeah, but the
but
plan would
they
have
had
a
nothing,
date.
yeah, they had nothing to do with it after it was done.
Mhm.
They, you know, they did it and it was approved by,
But if you called them. Here's the plan, the plan would have a date,
right.
so that would maybe get us into the right.
And
Period.
I could think about when that date would be. It would be in the 70s.
Early 70s.
Yeah, like 70, maybe. Trying to think about this. Let me just think.
I think on the website, landfill closure was 73 that it was closed.
Oh, okay, so on the DEP website,
Yeah,
there is a listing for men.
all landfills and Mendon's on there.
Yeah,
And it was a closing date that said 73.
okay, good.
Okay.
All right, so we
Good.
already have information
Right,
and we have, so, you know, I mean, how long did that thing exist?
before,
Yeah,
the one where they were bringing from Boston.
no,
Oh, it's forever probably. I mean, I don't know that. Yeah, more than the 60s.
yeah.
I
Yeah,
mean,
they've been in
oh,
town
I'm pretty
forever.
sure,
Oh, wow.
yeah.
Yeah, but.
I mean, I didn't live here. They actually, said I should put my bra back on and move back to Boston. Oh, yeah, yeah. I'm telling you,
Oh,
you wouldn't believe. They threatened to kill my kids. They set my barn on fire. You wouldn't believe it.
I'm just going back to past meeting minutes and I was supposed to follow up on an action item that I failed to do.
it happens.
I'm back in May.
When I spoke about it then,
Yeah, it was one of the conversations we had had.
right, because
Is
it's,
And I bet you Lonnie, remember Lonnie was on a call because we were talking about adjacent properties that we're on the hook for testing.
Mhm.
There's one or more
Right,
at
well
least one.
monitoring.
that
Absolutely.
we're on the hook for testing. And Lonnie had some knowledge of that. And he said it's gotta be on this side of the river, remember?
Yeah.
He might have even pulled up a map, you know, how quick he was with that stuff. It's still, all right, it must be this one here because the other properties are all on the other side of the river, so.
Mhm.
I
The
mean,
the action, the action item I'm referring to was to follow up with the resident who I had a conversation with, who had acquired quite a bit of documentation about the
right,
landfill.
the lady.
And I had,
helped her do that.
okay,
okay, so, and I had not back out there.
okay.
So she actually may be in possession of all the
She's got
documents.
some stuff, I know.
Something.
Because she was so worried and I didn't blame her,
No,
you
understood.
know?
If she didn't know when she bought the property,
No, they did not tell her that.
they did
She
not
bought
tell her
them
when
in
she
the-
bought
yeah,
it.
Right,
The son, I think, or a family member found out about it haphazardly when they came up to do some business at the town hall and somebody, when he was there, and they asked about the address, he gave the address, oh, and somebody said something like, oh, the old town dump or the old landfill,
Right.
whatever. And he goes, oh, what do you mean? And that started the conversation and the process. And then I guess they had a bit of a tough time trying to acquire information, but they,
but and I think she went to court. I'm not sure what she did, but she
Okay.
did something. I'm not sure. Because, you know, I did what I could do.
Are we talking about the people
Woman in the
that
front,
bought
yeah,
Jimmy's property?
yeah,
Yeah,
correct.
Okay,
Yeah.
I remember Missy talking about it, so you could reach out to Missy and she might be able to give us some firsthand information. Because I remember a comment was made, and I don't know how true this is, but when the person that bought the property went back to the people they bought it from and questioned about the dump, I believe the comment I was told was, well, you knew it was a pigsty.
Yeah, because they raise pigs there,
Right.
Mhm.
right? But that's a whole
I used to
different.
play, I used to play in that pig pen
Right,
when I was a kid.
that's a whole different thing.
But that was the response, so, you know, obviously not a very,
But she
respectful
did a
response
lot
to
of
the question.
work on that.
she did. And,
And I don't know I don't know how it ended up because, I did what I could.
right. But what I should do is I should reach back out to her.
Okay, so if you reach back out to
See
her,
what she has for
Let's see what
paperwork.
she
Yeah,
has.
She referred to a couple of boxes
yeah,
that she had accumulated documentation for.
right.
if
over-
you reach out,
Yeah,
either
and you
one,
can tell,
right?
I'm
I
on the
mean,
Board
reach
of
out to
Health
Missy.
again.
pick her
Yeah.
brain for a few minutes and see what she has. Because I know she's been part of discussion on that in the past. And she was, in town
Mhm.
at the time.
Can also go back through the town meetings and the warrant articles, because there had to be a warrant article for the town to, dedicate the funds or put the funds in your operating budget to pay for this monitoring. So you can go back and see what the warrant
Yeah,
article.
I
was.
see, I never
And
saw how that happened because I
if we
I
have that,
thought that they were paying for that.
if we have
In-
that
in
plan,
my world,
again,
I thought,
that
because
plan.
I
we'll have a
totally
date on it.
absented myself from everything.
Yeah.
Because,
But there has to be, there had to be at some point a warrant article that was placed on, on the town meeting in order for it to be placed into your
So the
operating
town
budget.
clerk would have that.
Yeah, yeah, they can go back and research that,
So
absolutely.
maybe after you get a date of the capping plan. Because that way we could tell Ellen that it's prior
right,
to that date. So we're not spinning our wheels. We gotta find a way to narrow the window down.
Yeah, I'd start with
all
when Jack said 1973,
right.
and then come forward from there and see when you started, when the warrant article was placed.
Well, actually, it would be backwards from 70.
Well, you had the capping was in 73, right?
But the money to be put in the budget to pay the Ferrucci family to dump there would be going
That
back.
kind of thing, yeah.
Because
yeah.
we didn't cap
How
it.
much, no,
They had to
that's it.
cap it,
Right,
The Ferrucci's capped it?
right?
yeah,
Oh, okay, so that's a horse of a different.
Right, so we need to go backwards from that agreement. And obviously it would be an annual amount of money,
Mhm.
but once we find the last payment,
because I,
Go
see,
back
I
until you
never
find the
thought
person.
that, I thought that they were having
So-
to pay that.
Yeah, so
And I
that's
don't know
what,
how that happened, I don't know.
yeah, I'm
where that
perplexed
happened.
myself. So if it's the Ferrucci farm, they paid to cap it. Then once you cap it, then the post-closure agreement comes into play. All right, so that tells you, well, the DEP tells you what they want you to do. So that was, in 1973, if you said that's when it was capped, so that's what I'd be looking for. When did that warrant article start to appear that it was placed in the Board of Health's operating budget to start to
testing.
monitor? Yeah. Yeah, fine,
I'm thinking because it was called the Mendon landfill,
Mm.
that it kind of fell.
And I don't know how, I don't
Well-
know how it ended up being called the Mendon landfill, except for the fact that it was in Mendon and it was a landfill, but.
And
I-
I'm sure the townies referred to it as the town dump.
Yeah,
But Elaine, I'd be curious as to what the
How was it?
verbiage is on the warrant article that, was placed as to what the reasoning was that now the Board of Health had to assume this
right, yeah,
responsibility.
that's.
Not
I'd
only,
be
not only,
curious
the-
about that.
and not only the warrant, but what's in the court documents that Joyce referred to, the court action that took place that summer. How they referred to.
Yeah,
the
where's
property.
the judgment on it?
In the
That
judgment.
has to be recorded, that
Yeah.
I'm sure of that's
Yeah.
recorded on the registry of deeds.
All right. Well, we'll do some research.
Yeah.
Start the treasure hunt.
All right.
Yeah,
And see where it leads us, but, I don't know if there's anybody in town that would have firsthand knowledge of it. Well, I mean, not starting.
Probably Dickie, Dickie Ferrucci, he's here.
Well, we could ask Dicky, but I mean, I don't want to put him in the middle either.
Well, I mean, it's.
Could be an uncomfortable position.
It doesn't matter. You're looking for information. When did your dad start the dump?
Yeah,
For the town? You had the pig farm.
I'll ask.
Just, when was that?
yeah, we can, look at the copies of, go back through the
Hmm.
deeds and
Yeah,
I'm
I just don't
willing
want to put him
to
in a
pitch in
uncomfortable spot,
with
but
the
I
warrant.
guess he could-
It is,
he could tell me-
he's in an
he
uncomfortable
could tell me
spot
he'd rather not
because
talk about it, and I'll respect that.
you know, his
Yeah.
name is probably somewhere on that deed now, or.
Yeah.
I know Dolly, whatever her name was.
Yeah, no,
Jean.
I could,
I don't know.
I can ask the question.
Hmm.
Well, we'll look into it. Sorry.
I'll approach Dicky and see if he can give me any, or wants to give me any information.
Jack
Well,
and
the
I
dump
can do
started.
the,
When did
The
it
rent
start
was
start
all
doing the
good.
dump?
Right on.
Was it early seventies when it got closed?
Yeah,
73, Jack
73.
said.
73 was the
Yeah.
closure. We suspect it operated for a period of 10 years?
I have no idea because
10 years or more.
I have no idea because I had just moved into town, as I said, and,
Oh,
and then I was, they were like. And same thing happened. Then that happened now. What the person that I was actually having my septic system. Checked because we didn't know anything about it. It was had this big cover and we thought, oh, this is gonna be huge, and it was about that deep. But Johnny Gibson, who was on the Board of Health at the time, Mr. Johnny Gibson, the older man. He was pumping out my septic system. And he says to me, oh, what do you do? And I said, well, I'm a nurse. And but I said, I want to be an at-home mom because, I just have two kids. And he said, we need you on the Board of Health. Because Mrs. Allaire, Mrs. Allaire,
Yeah, yeah.
that she was hit by a car and had had a broken leg. And she couldn't do it at the time and she didn't want to do it anymore. And he said, we need a nurse on the Board of Health. Well, truth be known, they didn't need a nurse. They needed a engineer, which was why I ended up doing all that schooling. But that's how that happened. So, then, and I was the only one that was at home. So when things happened, I was the one who got called. And well, actually, my friend called me. Gene McCann. Did you know the McCanns? They lived over on Hartford Avenue East. In one of the houses that's gone now there. Gene McCann and her husband and kids, they were all there. And she called me on the phone. She was from England and she said, what the hell is happening here? There's trucks going by my house and they're leaking. And I said, I don't know, Jean. She said, I'll follow them. And she did. And she said to me, they're going down to Ferrucci's. She didn't say the town dump. She said Ferrucci's.
Well, I never knew it was the town.
So,
Growing up in Milford, it was Ferrucci's farm.
Yes,
and the dump.
Never knew it was a dump.
yeah, I didn't.
I was on the property because Milford Kiwanis,
Yeah,
especially when they built the dance studio,
yeah,
that's where the cookouts were.
always.
Milford
My
Kiwanis
husband's
Club.
bands used to play.
But that's the thing
So
is,
I never
that's
knew it
way
was a dump.
after. It wasn't a dump then because that was after.
Oh, okay.
You see,
Oh,
that's.
right, because it got
once
capped in
Dolly-
73,
once,
right?
What's her name? Who thought she was going to
Mm-hmm,
take me,
mm-hmm.
got into the picture. That's when this all happened. And her son was, her in-law was an attorney and he was doing court case and she did not know with whom she,
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so I was on the property after that was.
Correct.
Okay.
correct.
Yeah,
This is
that's,
probably
right.
75, I'm thinking.
Yeah, because he, as I said, the day that we won, close to coast, it was a Friday. I can't tell you the exact day. I probably have it written down or something, but I decided, I think probably like 4 years ago to dump all that stuff because I said I'm not gonna ever need it again. So, but, yeah, so that's what he did. He said to me, call me on the phone, that you think you won? And
Yes, you did.
I said, yeah, and I said, that's fine. Because I knew that he was gonna do that. And I had a nice relationship with Farron Caddy at that time too. And so did Johnny Gibson. As a matter of fact, when I came home from court, I put on a pair of very short cut off jeans. And so I called him and told him that, I called John, I said, I think we need to go over and talk to Jack. And so he said, okay, I'll pick you up. So I opened the door and he said, change those shorts. Can I help it? I have long legs. No. Go change your shorts.
I like it.
So we went over there and because I knew we had been at meetings and, I was doing the at the time, there was the Central Regional Boards of Health. And I was involved with that. And so I met him there. They would have these meetings that were educational meetings, which it's too bad they don't still do stuff like that because that was really good. And, I ended up becoming the president of that Central Regional Boards of Health for a couple of years in accordance with being on the board. Yeah. So.
So the kids really brought themselves.
Well, by that time, all of these things, nothing happened like in a minute, because between the time that I started on the Board of Health to the time that I got off, because my son was going to go to college, and I said to the finance committee, look, guys, I'm not making any money. My husband's working, my kids are working down at Lowell's and doing this, and I just need $15,000 a year. That's all I need. I was doing all the testing, was doing all the plan review. I was doing, I was teaching CPR and Heimlich to all the restaurants, doing all the restaurant inspections, doing all the, my own secretarial work. I said, I just need, 15,000. So they called me after and they said, yeah, no, we can't do it. I said, I can't do it either. And then they found out that the engineer was gonna cost him 60.
Mm-hmm.
The restaurant inspector was gonna cost him 30. The secretary was gonna get 15.
Mm-hmm.
And they said, yeah, well, we want you back. I said, yeah, no. So,
Deal's over.
but Farron County set us right up then. And at the same time, I was involved with the, doing the Millbury. There was a group of us that got together
Okay,
to find,
Millbury, yeah.
and we had the first in this town in Mendon, we had the first house to house recycling pickup in Massachusetts. Because most people, Wellesley had a recycling and a different, but they had it at the dump, at the town
Yep.
dump. Jackie Farah had a recycling thing, but we had it. Because I did that because we didn't have a place to do it. Ferrucci closed, so we couldn't go there. Yeah, it was an interesting,
I
Right.
found it.
All right, so we've got a plan of action.
Yep,
Yes.
we
Right?
do.
Yes.
Yep.
We have an idea what we're gonna.
Yep, we all have our,
brought that up.
we all have our
That's
assignments.
fine. It's a,
No, I mean, I love
it's
history.
history amended.
Yeah, I do. I love
No.
history.
Yeah,
And when you think about 30 years of testing, it's quite a chunk of dough.
That's
Yeah.
the thing. I'm just
And I-
curious, like I said.
I really, it's probably my fault that happened in my mind because I didn't pay attention. I didn't know that. I didn't realize that. I didn't pay attention to it ever again after that. Because,
Why would you?
yeah, I didn't want to be involved with that.
Well, between Shay and Missy and the registry of deeds,
Warrant articles.
yeah, and that woman who hopefully has a couple boxes of documents that'll
All right, believe it.
help us
Yeah.
out.
Yeah, the
It's a Portuguese
post-closure
name.
agreement too will tell us.
We can get,
Lady.
Yeah.
Her,
We'll
get started on it.
Yeah.
We'll find it.
Absolutely.
her last name is Portuguese, right? She-
Yes. I got it jotted down on one of my
Yeah,
tests.
I would know it too.
Yeah.
Her-
Well, unfortunately, they still live there.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
So we better when she moves.
Mm.
Yeah,
All right. Enough on that one?
yep.
We-
Sorry.
No, that's fine. Hey, listen. It's a passionate issue.
It's good to
You were
kind of
involved
recap
firsthand.
and get all
Yeah.
that summation, you know,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Third item on the agenda, hazardous waste day and document shredding reminder.
All right, so it's this Saturday, August 12th, from 9 AM to 12 PM at the Highway Department. You're ready to go.
And the
I'll
shredding
help you.
truck is available.
Yes,
Okay, so it's hazardous waste day. Wow, that came quick.
yes, it did.
I know, my life is gone before my.
And
No
shred.
kidding.
Yeah.
We'll be putting the Christmas tree up next week.
Good. So I will help you, Jack.
Well, thank you, I appreciate that.
I'm supposed to be working, but I'll see if I can sneak out.
You need help?
No, it shouldn't be that bad.
I know I've got some.
Yeah.
Text me.
Well, this one, unlike the other last two Saturdays where we had people come to bring their old barrels, that was a little more work involved. This one, all the work really, all the lifting is being handled by Clean Harbors.
Correct.
So really all we're doing is really guiding people onto the
Right
property,
around,
tell
yeah.
them where they go, answer some questions about what they're gonna be able to get rid of, what they can't get rid of, and the flow of traffic, that sort of thing.
Usually the biggest stumbling block we run into is placement of the dumpster. That has to be correct.
Yes, I told John Dudley and EL Harvey Mike Sespan where it's supposed to be placed.
Is it gonna
It
be
always goes-
placed where it always is, or did
Yeah.
John decide to change it?
No, I always set in front of the propane dumpster where the propane is.
Okay.
That's where they set up the tables right in front of it and that gives the cars.
Yep.
Drive through.
Okay, because that Alan has had to come down in the past and move it.
Mhm.
And that's like our biggest mess up.
Yeah.
The thing that doesn't go quite the way it's supposed to.
And we're gonna keep the same flow? that
I
we
think
have
so.
In years, we're gonna have them come in and out the same one?
Yep.
We have a police officer
Yes,
and it's 8 to 12.
9 to 12.
9 to 12, yeah.
9 to 12.
They come on site probably, what, about 8?
Yeah,
Oh, they were even there before 7, because I was there at 7.
The,
Clean Harbors.
They're
Probably
a
a
great
couple
outfit.
hours.
Worked
They
with
take
them
out a couple
many
hours to
times.
set up.
they're like the only one that'll do
Yep.
it,
Yeah.
Yep, and they're reasonable too.
you know? That the setup fee kills me.
Mm.
You know, it started like at 16 and then
Oh, yeah.
19 and then 23. I mean, just to get them here.
And just an FYI, Bellingham had it with Clean Harbors at the high school. On the property of the high school. Just as an FYI.
Interesting.
What's the setup fee up to now?
I have no idea.
What's our budget?
Oh, like 15,000?
Because I think we came in at 11 or 12 last year.
Yeah. I mean, we always come in under what we budgeted. I think there's been only maybe twice, at least in my time, that we've had to, because we budget X amount of dollars. What can happen is you can reach the limit.
Right.
So there's a couple of times where we actually had to shut
down.
people off,
Oh, yeah.
even though it's before noon time. Say, sorry, as the hours, first couple hours go along, they kind of keep track as to what the dollar value is. And then based on that, we might have to make a call. If you sorry, we're at our, or we could approve to go over, but I think we have enough of a cushion.
Yeah, we have a buffer.
Do you
to not have an
charge
issue.
or is it free?
Oh, great.
And do you put a limit on per household? No, so they can
But
bring.
we get some help from EL.
Mhm.
Yeah, they
We
provided
get the
dumpster
dumpster
and the shredding truck.
and the shredding truck and we get some cake.
Correct.
Cake, did you say?
Yes. Dollars.
Oh,
Yeah, it's part of our
I
contract.
was gonna say, oh, I don't have
Yeah,
to
they-
bring anything.
Oh, you bringing something?
Yeah, they help support financially, which is nice.
Now. All right, so it's this Saturday. Wow.
This Saturday.
Yeah,
All right, so everything, as long as the dumpster is in the right spot.
Mhm.
Like I said, I think that's really the only problem we've had,
Yeah,
because we resolved the traffic issue by putting a police officer on.
Yeah, last year it went smoothly.
Was that the one that I sort of started with?
Yes, you did.
So we'd want to make sure that the door is facing the metal dumpster. The door to the dumpster that Yale Hobby brings
Uh-huh.
Well,
needs to
actually-
face the dumpster.
The senior center.
I always thought that they wanted it the other way,
Uh-oh.
that they came in the front. I didn't think they walked around to the back.
Well, the dumpster goes parallel to the salt shed
Correct.
and the door would face the senior center.
Okay. Is that the way it's always been?
Yes,
Always
I
faced
do
that way?
remember that.
Okay. All right.
As Mike says, all dumpsters, the door comes down first.
True. Yeah, I just didn't know if they drove in. 'Cause I thought one year they drove in the other way and the door was actually,
One year they put it up by the salt shed.
yeah,
Town had to come move it with the
yeah, I remember
loader.
that. Yeah,
But yeah,
that's fine.
it parallel to the salt shed
Yep,
and the door should face the senior center.
senior center. Okay, that's cool.
Because when they set up, you actually drive beside the dumpster.
Yep,
It'll be on your left.
yep.
And then you go past the dumpster and then they have their
Big
saw
barrel.
horses and their workbench kind of set up with
Yep.
their barrels.
Yep.
Because the barrels go in the back of the truck,
Yep,
all the containers go in the dumpster.
go in the dumpster. Okay.
So they usually put that big liner in it.
Yep,
And I'm trying to remember if they opened the door or not.
When I got there at 7 o'clock last year, they already had the liner on the dumpster and,
Yeah.
yeah,
I thought they had to open the door to put the liner in. They would walk in
Yeah,
to put the liner up,
okay.
but, I guess we have to make sure that they're not blocking that leaf
correct.
area, right?
Yep.
So is John, do we know when they're coming with that dumpster?
Supposedly Friday.
On Friday. Do we know what time?
Leah Holiday never tells me a time.
And of course, that's a day when the highway department's not working.
No, they work on Fridays.
They do work.
Yeah,
Why
They
did
work
think
5
that-
days a week.
Yeah, 5
Yep.
days. Okay. So someone will be there.
Darlene will be there.
Yeah, I didn't think the guys come in on Friday during the summer.
Did
John says they're 5 days a week.
he's cracking the whip.
Well, it's either you do 4/10s or you do 5/8s.
Okay.
But where everybody else is off on Friday, I know at one point, the highway guys wanted to do 4/10s and be off on Friday too, and
Yeah.
because of the union, you had to respect it.
Okay.
My suggestion in the past is to have someone like John
Yes.
paint it on the ground
Yeah.
where you want it dropped
Well, Mark,
Yeah.
and where you want the door.
Yep.
Period.
Yeah.
You know, just use some turf marking
Yeah.
paint and it's a done deal.
Yep.
I mean, as long as the guy can read the map,
Yeah.
it shouldn't be hard to find the spot to dump it, you know, to put it. And that way there, as long as the gate is open, everything's good. Nobody physically has to be there, but we've had some times where it wasn't always put where it needed to be. That was kind of a stumbling block for us.
Big stone.
Yeah.
speaking of stumbling blocks, while we're on the subject, do you want to talk about any other stumbling blocks that you've been experiencing with our friends?
Oh, E.L. Harvey?
Yeah.
Yeah, I've been getting phone calls. Supposedly all toters that were missing were supposed to be delivered today. And I already received like 12 phone calls saying that they never received their toters. One person who was supposed to receive his toters didn't even get picked up yesterday. But I send E.L. Harvey a daily list of all addresses that are supposed to be picked up, highlighting them with a PU or pickup. For Phil to know, since they don't have the toters yet, to still pick them up type of thing. And that's not happening either.
Oh,
So I asked Tom if he was busy tomorrow to go down to E.L. Harvey and,
Put the pressure to.
well, you know your way around the place now.
I know my way around. I know just where to go. I know just where the top dog's office is.
There you go.
and one of them said that her trash barrel is significantly smaller than her recycling toter.
Yeah, that was kind of interesting, but
I don't know.
I don't know either.
and we believe that E.L. Harvey is the group that's going back and
Correct.
backfilling these. It's not the company that they hired originally.
That's zero.
They're going back and filling the orders.
Right. And a percentage of the people were people that actually paid late.
Correct.
So I said to Jack, I said, well, it's paid
Yeah,
late,
yeah.
I'm not,
Right, they might not have been on the original list.
Mhm.
right. So, yes, we want to help you, but,
Yeah, give us a
paid late,
break.
so what do you want us to?
Yeah, I heard there were 15 sets available. I read somewhere in an email that E.L. Hobby had made 15 sets of toters available.
Oh, for delivery on their Wednesdays.
Right.
Yeah, they were delivering every single Wednesday.
No.
Cause I even asked Heather Redmond, I'm like, can you give me 25 cents? Cause I talked to John Dudley and like, do you have room for 25 cents of toters for me? And I'll deliver them myself to the residents. And Heather Redmond says, no, that's not necessary. All of them will be delivered on Wednesday.
Okay, and it hasn't happened.
We'll see how that works.
Unless they're still delivering at this time of night. I don't know.
So I said to Jack, when he mentioned, before the meeting, I said, well, maybe it's a case where even Heather's not aware yet. Maybe she's just under the impression it was all gonna happen today. Maybe when she goes in tomorrow morning, she's gonna find out it may have been a problem. Who knows, maybe I'll have an email waiting, or maybe she'll do a reach out in the morning, say, hey, Jack, FYI, I just became aware. But it seems like there's some communication struggles that are,
Well, I was surprised the dumpster is still sitting down there.
Well, I did ask John Dudley about that because now we're having about 120 residents getting toters. About 80 of them were people that didn't get them because of late payments. What are they gonna do with their barrels?
They're gonna cut them up, put them in there.
Well, I asked John, since the dumpster was only like halfway full,
Oh, okay.
because of the remaining dumpster
Yeah.
toters. He
It
still has
looked
room
pretty
to put
full
more
when
in.
I've driven by.
Huh?
It looked pretty full when I've driven by. The only thing I could think of is because of trucking, maybe they were gonna drop the hazardous waste dumpster off.
Take that one.
Exactly,
Pick that one up.
exactly.
Because it.
Yep.
Trucking
Sure.
costs money.
Absolutely.
that second
Absolutely.
one, John
I'll
was saying
bet
it's
you.
only half filled.
Yeah, he said he crushed everything down. Is it full again?
Well, it looked pretty full after we did that the weekend, so he must have done a real good job of breaking that,
No, the new dumpster was just placed last week.
right?
The ones that was, to replace the ones that were already there. So they took the one that was full when we were there,
Yeah,
brought a new one, empty one in,
yeah.
and whatever was on the ground went to the dumpster, and John said that they crushed them down.
Oh, it just goes on the ground. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know I can see trash cans when I drive by,
Yeah,
so obviously they're above
the line.
the rim, but
Yep. Okay. Well,
I guess we beat that one up.
Yep.
All right, let's go to 4. Tobacco enforcement compliance checks discussion. Like to take that.
It's Colleen.
So I spoke with Joan and Jody. And I had a lengthy conversation with Jody and confirmed it with an email. And the long and the short of it is that she's very interested in doing the the retail education component and the youth compliance checks. Historically, she said that they start them like in the fall. We both agreed that we should start with the retail education component first before then we go do the youth compliance check on them. She bills out at $35 an hour and the youth compliance checks is $19 an hour. And if there are any re-inspections, then the rate would be that. We discussed, would be the same, I should say. We discussed the board's interest and eager to become part of the grant program. And unfortunately, they had just re-upped it, so we have to wait another year before we become part of it. But we would be using Jody and Joan anyway. So this way here, it will give Jody an opportunity to become familiar with the town because she's never done, obviously, the retail or the compliance checks. And I told her that I would bring it to the board. It would be up to the board if they choose to move forward. That I know the board was very interested in this. And I would go out with her on the checks. There's 6, right?
6.
6 tobacco permits out that have been issued. So that's what we would be focusing on.
Okay, for some reason I was under the impression she already did the educational part
She,
a while back.
Last year.
Right. And then when we didn't qualify or we weren't part of the grant, that kind of ended. because we couldn't go forward at that particular time.
Mhm.
We need to get it done.
Yeah, definitely have to have something in place.
I mean, at 35 an hour, even if it's an hour each place,
That's right.
we're not talking about a lot of money.
Hmm.
Do
We have it factored into our budget.
we have a line item for that?
Yeah.
To have,
And
I
what
wonder
what
if it got dropped,
exactly
'cause
would
we
they?
used to use
what are they
Elliott
doing?
Brown.
yep,
Yeah, we've done it before.
you can do it like under professional and technical. Do you have a P&T line item?
We'll find it somewhere.
Yeah,
I mean, it's something we have to do.
Yeah.
It really, it's like having the VNA. You have to have a VNA. We have to do tobacco checks. Things got messed up when we lost contact with Elliott Brown
Mhm.
and then COVID hit.
Yep.
And so we, whatever it is, we gotta get on track. And I mean, I don't think it's gonna be $1,000. So,
that'd be a small amount.
yeah, I mean, like I said, 6 times 35, so let's call it 6 times 40. I mean, it's $240.
Right.
So even if it's $240 the first time for the education, and then if the stings are another 240 plus another 120 for the youth, I mean, we're talking small dollars.
Yeah, I agree.
I mean, none of us take our stipends. We can take it from the stipend money.
Oh, we will have money in our budget for this.
Yeah, I mean, wherever it is, we'll get it done.
Oh, we're
We'll have
fine.
it.
Yeah.
So I say move forward.
Absolutely.
I don't know. This is something totally new to me.
Okay.
I mean, we didn't do that. I don't, I mean, I didn't do it. And I was the only one doing stuff.
All right.
So what is it? What do they
Do you
do?
want to explain that?
Yeah,
You'll
sure.
do it better than.
Yep, so it's the retail check is just to go into each establishment, make sure that they have the signage in place, make sure that they have posted that they don't sell to cigarettes to minors. And also how if they have that, some of them have this cash register that you have to enter in your license in order to purchase a cigarette. So that's a good thing if they have that cash register. They don't have to have that cash register, but it's a good thing. It makes it easier, less likely, I should say, that they
Them to
would
get
sell
sell
to a
kid,
minor.
yeah.
Right. So you go in first and you educate them, you sit down with them, you spend time with them, you explain to them, go over the tobacco regulations with them. These are, these are the fines, should you sell to a minor, make sure that they understand that, make sure that they have a copy of them. And then, after that, you go in with Jody, myself, I've done them before, then you have a youth go in and ask to purchase a pack of, whatever it is, Marlboros, right? And if you're praying that they don't, after you just spent all this time going over. So in other words, you're letting them know without letting them know something's coming down the pike.
Right.
So you educate them on every aspect of the tobacco regulations. Like I said, make sure that they have the signage, see what type of cash register that they have, because if they have the one with the ID, they're less likely to, bypass it.
Right,
And then you go forward with the stings.
okay,
So it's spread out,
right.
but one follows the other and, so we've done it in the past. We had this, Elliott Brown
Mhm.
and they did a phenomenal job. They did it automatic.
Yes,
We didn't even have to think about it, but
he
the
was a great
signage
guy.
changes.
Yes, Yep.
At different times.
yep,
And where it has to be posted so that it's visible.
So
And then
18 is the age?
21.
21.
21? Oh, wow, I did not know that.
Mhm.
at one point, I'm trying to think, we didn't have tobacco regulations. That's something that came into play maybe
Yeah.
6, 7 years ago.
We implemented tobacco regs.
Yeah.
AJ
I
Fisk
know
was very,
It wasn't in my
adamant
day, I know
that
that.
he wanted to get that accomplished.
Right,
And
good.
we were
Yeah.
very fortunate. We worked with some people that helped us.
Right,
And then we had our, public hearing
right.
and we got them passed. So, you miss that stuff.
Yeah,
Do you remember who the doctor was?
He just retired.
Did he? Yeah.
Yeah, I remember hearing that he was gonna retire And we heard like 6 or 9 months before he retired, he was a pediatrician, I believe.
Yeah, I know
And
who
I
he,
can't think
me
of his
too.
name.
I'm going through the alphabet in
He
my
was
head.
awesome.
He was,
He was based
Where
out of
was he
Needham,
from around?
Sounds right.
right?
yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not
Was he?
too far out of.
Based out of the Needham area.
yeah.
Oh,
He
And
would
he
travel
just was passionate
Yeah,
about
extremely
tobacco.
passionate.
right,
Very, very passionate about it.
good.
And
And-
that's what you do. Excuse, I didn't mean to interrupt you, but you go in with the regulations too and make sure that the store is complying with the regulations, with the signage, with the postings. And then you sit down with them and you talk about, the sales to minors and these are these are the fines should you, sell to them, right? And that usually lets them know that something's
Yeah,
in the
coming
work,
around.
right?
Well, and that they need to pass this information on to the
Right.
clerks that work for them.
Right,
Absolutely.
You know, they need to pass that education on to their
Right.
employees
yeah,
so that everybody's doing what they're supposed to do.
Mm-hmm.
We don't want to find anybody selling the mines.
Right.
No, that's why, and that's the whole purpose of going in and educating
Right.
them first and just saying, hey, we're
Right.
here, and hopefully they realize that, just like
Right.
doing inspections, I tell them all the time,
Right.
I want you to pass.
right, Yeah.
That's
Right.
the goal,
right,
When he came to educate us once, I remember him telling us that it had been determined through, scientific testing that biologically the human mind is not mature until roughly the age of 25.
Mm-hmm.
So, which is very interesting because, we ask our youth to do a lot of things prior to that age that are could be very life changing. Whether it be, driving licenses, military service, all these things, gun ownership. And, the use of things like tobacco and what have you,
right,
it really kind of stuck with me that, you wonder if, and that's one of the reasons why I wanted to go the way of making it 21. Based on that, to give a youth maybe a little bit more time to think about that, another 2 or 3 years to consider. Because maybe what they might have done at 18, knowing that it's now 21 to be legal, maybe those 3 years made a difference in somebody's life. Said, when 21 came around, they decided, no, I don't want to buy those cigarettes.
Well, and I remember him bringing up when it was 18, you could find cigarettes in the hands of 14 and 15
oh,
year olds.
yeah,
So when you go to 21,
Right.
you might find it in the hand of 17 and 18-year-olds,
Right.
but you're really making it hard for those 14 and 15-year-olds to get
Mhm.
into it. So it's never gonna be 100%, but you're making it that much more difficult.
Right.
And if I remember correctly, there were only like half a dozen towns before us that had gone to 21. We were pretty early in that
It was a
game.
low number.
Yeah,
it
we
was a
were
low
pretty
number.
early in that game.
Since then, quite a few more.
Well, didn't it go statewide after?
Actually, went straight
Yeah, it went
statewide. They
statewide.
implemented it. That's right.
Yeah, I bet within a couple of years of us doing it, it went
It went
statewide.
statewide. That's right.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yep.
So, I mean, we were very fortunate that we kind of got on that ahead of the curve
Yep.
and,
First with curbside recycling, trash,
Yeah.
first with the tobacco.
Mendon's.
Mendon is like, we're, we are,
yeah.
we're trendsetters.
So we need to do to get it going.
As long as the board agrees to move forward and, Jody and I will do our thing.
Do we need to take a formal vote on that?
Or would there be need a contract? Because wouldn't she be a contracted vendor? Because Mendon would have to pay her.
Right.
Yeah, so she'd need to fill out the vendor. You're right, Chuck.
She may have already filled some of that stuff out.
I never received anything from her.
No, before you were here, because we've been working with
Used
her
up, yeah.
during COVID. So she may have already filled out some of the paperwork.
The town accountant.
Yeah, I'll ask Jody.
Yep.
All right, so we're not sure about the paperwork side, what's been completed, what needs to be completed. At this time, we'll just move forward.
Mhm.
And if we need to take a formal vote later on, we'll take a formal vote. Because obviously there's gonna be some lag time between the paperwork and them actually getting, and we're meeting every 2 weeks, so.
Mhm.
And these are individuals, Colleen, or are they under an umbrella name? This is
Well, she works with Joan for the Leominster, Tobacco, Alliance program.
Okay.
She's part of that grant program. Jody does the checks through
Yep.
that grant program, but because we're not part of that
Yep.
program, she's willing to do this
Step out kind of on her own.
right and not be part of the, but knows that, and I talked with Joan too, and told her how eager, the board is to join, to become part of the grant program. So Joan's aware of it as well.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I remember because Jody was from like the East Brookfield area.
Yes.
And she said that she would like split the travel time. She would try to make sure that Mendon got done when she was doing, at the same time she was doing a town that was close by. I mean, couldn't be any more accommodating.
Yeah.
That's what we're gonna do, cause she's gonna come to Blackstone. And
See,
then she's
yeah.
gonna come to Mendon.
And so she already had.
Yep.
I mean, I guess we could take a vote.
Yeah.
Pending paperwork completion,
Sure, yeah.
and we don't have to take one later.
That's right.
All right, so we need a motion.
I'll make the motion to bring on Jody, last name,
Briganti,
Yep.
Briganti.
Briganti.
Yep.
To bring on Jody Briganti as a tobacco compliance check officer or individual.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All
You know-
right, so it's done.
Yep,
Pending
so we're
paperwork.
at that.
All right, so once the paperwork is complete.
Get it going.
Colleen, move forward, please.
Yeah,
Thank you.
awesome.
Yeah, well, like she said, usually we'll go out, just after school starts
Perfect.
with
We're
and we'll
there.
go out and visit, all the stores and sit down with them and educate them, and then it'll be after that.
Yeah, no, that's perfect. And,
We'll keep you posted.
yeah, we obviously don't want to miss another round of getting
Mm-mm.
to be part of that grant.
Right, they
So
know,
it'll
they
be-
know that.
We can automatically follow along with them. All right, next item on the agenda, select board collaboration.
All right, so for this topic and the next topic, I asked Mike Morale, the chairman of the select board, and he said that it would be included on next week's agenda for the select board for August 16th
Okay,
to find out what select board member would be part of the BOH meetings and also part of the Lake Nipmuc Task Force Committee. So that's on their agenda for next week.
I haven't heard anything. No,
I
nobody.
got a call from Bob Sweetie who asked me like, what's going on? I haven't heard anything either. I'm like,
Me either, and it's conservation, should be conservation's, lead,
conservation should be the lead.
I would say, yeah, the lake,
Mm-hmm.
You want to call Bob Sweet and let him know?
no,
Well, when you say,
conservation?
yeah,
Yes, okay.
when you say the lead in for the task force?
yeah. I mean, somebody's gotta be the one that's carrying out when are we meeting, we haven't met, nobody said anything. But to me, the lake. is-
Yeah. Well,
Conservation.
Bob,
we'll see how it plays out.
My only comment on conservation is unfortunately I've had some calls and it seems as though maybe conservation, but at this time isn't working well. I don't
Yeah.
know. I'm not gonna tell them how to run their board, but it seems as though we're having a hard time pinning someone down to go with Danielle to visit a property on Washington Street.
correct.
Yeah, even talk to anybody, yeah,
Right, we had that couple here,
yeah.
that was
Came
concerned
in
about,
with
the
the water,
runoff.
yeah,
and they were a little frustrated with the response, so.
right,
Again, I'm not gonna tell conservation how to,
right.
do their job, but,
And I mean, I was dealing with Wayne Phipps because he wanted me to look at a couple of things, which I did, but they're on the lake, they're conservation things, some guy's digging up of the side of the lake. He put in this big patio on Old Taft Avenue.
yeah, I remember here.
Yeah, and I'm like,
So-
really? I mean, come on.
Somehow we gotta, get the lines of communication open and see if we can get
Right,
Well, I think the
team up
first
with them
thing,
to do some of these
Right.
inspections.
I think the first thing that should happen, and obviously it hasn't happened, is I would think formal notification from the select board would have come out to all the people that were appointed officially by the select board to that committee. And the notification should have gone out, in my view, in an email, something, whatever. You know, congratulations, thank you very much. Just want to confirm, select board has chosen all of you to be blah, blah, blah. And at that point, then the members of that committee then start to get together and start some communication.
right.
Because the first thing you'd probably want to do would be to kind of create some sort of organizational structure within the committee.
I think that was discussed. In
Right,
fact, I think it was discussed when Lonnie was sitting in your seat,
right,
I think it was,
yeah,
and that's a long time ago.
right?
right.
So granted, and that obviously hasn't happened yet. So is it a case where do we need to prompt the select board to say, just want to
See what's happening.
kind of check
Well,
in here?
I'll tell you,
with, you know,
the Lake Association has a free thing with me. They call me and say, can you go do this? Can you look at this? Can you do that? Which I do. I go and look at it and I say, look, that's not within my bailiwick, but I'll see what I can do and.
Well, the whole
nobody
idea,
answers.
the whole idea of creating this task force was to eliminate exactly that. It was to have representation from every group who had a hand in the pot with this resource.
Who would meet at a certain time, they would
Correct.
arrange a meeting time and,
And these meetings, because it was appointed formally by the select board, would be just like any other committee. The meetings have to be recorded, minutes have to be taken, all so people could stay informed.
Yeah.
Structure, we're missing some
Do we-
structure.
Do you want to appear at the select board meeting next Wednesday? And say,
I could, if
I
they
mean,
want.
we've lost the whole season.
I'm gonna be at the select board meeting anyway.
Well, and you're on the
Uh,
committee.
Well, for one thing, because of what they're trying to take 8 feet of my front lawn,
Oh, they can't do that.
8 feet,
Yeah, no, they can't do that.
that's gonna be.
Historic property.
Yeah. And trees and they'll be in my living room. But I have the deeds that show that they've already taken the part that's the sidewalk up to, they already took that because that well, the well,
Mhm.
the old well that was out there, it's still there. But that's on my deed, but it's on the sidewalk. They've taken that already off my property. That was a lawn. I have pictures.
Do you want to bring up the task force as a separate item and be on the agenda?
Well, you could go that route. I would probably say you'd probably want to see it as an agenda item. To be honest with you.
Right?
Yeah,
Would-
I
would it
think you
be-
have to get that, right, but I mean,
I mean, it,
Well, it sounds like Mike Morale said it is gonna be on the agenda for next week
okay,
for the selection of the.
so I mean, I can go, I'm gonna be there because the guy from the state is meeting at my house at 4:30. With Lonnie actually is helping me with this, yeah.
Good, good.
And Jay Kraus from the planning board, who is gonna come if he can, and the historical commission.
Oh, good.
Gonna have as many people as I can there. But I mean, that beautiful big weeping birch that we put there because that was Birch Alley. That was the
I
name of
didn't know that.
that street was not Washington Street. In the beginning, it was Birch Alley. And so we said, we were trying to keep back in the day, I mean, as my kids say, is that back in the day, everything's back in the day, but there was not nearly the traffic noise and that sort of stuff.
Oh,
We had-
Washington Street is beautiful.
Yeah, it was,
Yeah.
yeah,
Oh my
but
God.
we thought, well, that's is a good buffer for noise and stuff, we put that there, but that birch tree and then my well is right next to that birch tree, so what are they gonna cut that tree down? They're gonna cut down I've got English walnuts, I've got the birch tree, English walnuts, and then I have that holly hedge.
Oh.
And I have lilacs there on, you know, it's all on my property. They're gonna take
Take
8
it, take it
feet,
from the other side.
8, that's what I said.
Take it from the commercial property.
Right, exactly. It's 8 feet.
All right,
So I'll be there.
so
That's the
you
story.
can comment
Yeah,
on that.
yeah.
It's already on the agenda.
Since it's already
Yeah,
referencing
I'll
that.
pay attention
That's a
because I'll be there,
segue.
because I'm anyway, I'm there.
And again, maybe it's a
And I'm
case
part
where
of it,
they
yeah.
just wanted to solidify it by selecting the
Mm.
person from the select board, because that was the one position that had been pending,
Right,
right? That one fill.
Yeah,
Or maybe,
I think it was before the election that
yes,
we had this discussion.
correct.
So that might be why,
Yeah,
in case not knowing what was gonna change exactly on the board.
yeah,
Okay,
I'll do it. Yeah,
Thank you.
I'm gonna be there anyway, because that guy is also going to talk to the select board. So, but I'm getting him first. And, you know, I have all the documents, I have the deeds and.
Bang
shows
every
it on my
pot and
deed,
pan.
Yeah. See,
all right. Next item, Board of Health food permit forms discussion.
Colleen brought up a good point. I did speak with town council about adding in a quarry background check to all food truck applications. I just wanted the Board of Health's,
what's, what?
a quarry background
Oh,
check.
quarry, yeah,
Or
I'm
food
sorry.
back-
I thought you said quarry. I was like, what, why, what is that?
Okay, so would the police department do that
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes,
at our expense?
doesn't cost anything. Oh, they shouldn't charge you.
Okay. No, I'm just making sure that
Yeah,
our
doing a quarry is,
fees,
Yep.
yeah,
Yeah, no, they don't charge for, I mean, it's not been my experience anyway.
okay,
And it's just good, to have that, especially, you know, ice cream vendors in particular. You have food trucks up at like Vandervalk Farm. It's a family event, God forbid.
yeah, I mean, someone applies for a season, a annual permit, you're only gonna do it once.
Mhm.
Right? Someone who applies for a temporary permit, you'd have to do it once unless they reapply, or if they reapply, are we gonna drop that requirement in the
Well,
same year?
The Corey checks, from what I was told and what I understand, are good, for the year.
Okay,
So they wouldn't have to go through it every single time. But if it's an annual permit, they would have to fill it out every year. Yeah.
and if someone was a temporary permit and pulled one in March, they pulled a temporary and then they pulled a temporary in October, they wouldn't have to do that again. I'm just thinking of
Yeah.
how many times you'd be.
Yeah.
So
right.
they'd be covered until the next calendar
Yes.
year.
Yes.
Would it be calendar year or would it be a year from when they did the first check?
Well,
Well, the permit expires calendar year,
right.
so
So,
they can expire calendar year.
Right.
Okay, so they're gonna be reapplying in,
January.
January 1st by January 1st.
right, but they're gonna be submitting their applications in October, November, December. That's when the background check would take and it would go for the calendar year.
Mhm.
Okay.
How, you know, how long typically a quarry check should take?
5 minutes. Maybe 2.
Is a quarry check the same thing as a background check?
No.
They're two different things.
Yes. Yeah, this is just to see if there's any, you know, number one, it's a mobile food permit. So, you know, they have a valid license, or they should have a valid license. This is to see if, you know, there's been any questionable activity where, you know, the police chief would recommend for that type of business, you know, like a vendor at family farms and whatnot, that they may recommend not issuing the permit.
Okay, so sex offender registry,
Yes,
not having a valid driver's license, not having a residence where they could be located if they needed to be. So it's that level.
yeah, mostly if they have any type of, you know,
Outstanding.
yep, sex offenders or anything like that.
Okay.
That's what we're looking for. And for this particular permit application.
Good idea.
I'm fine with that.
Me too.
It's pretty universal. I mean, a lot of towns are doing it, and matter of fact, Jack and I talking about having standardized for permit applications within the coalition. It just makes it,
Easier.
it does, you know, and maybe even like the regulations, you know, having standardized regulations at some point. That way there, like for the inspectors within the coalition, you know, Dan and Danielle in particular, because they go to multiple towns. And, you know, if we wanna keep the coalition, which is very beneficial as far as I'm concerned, it enhances the services that each individual town can offer. And, you know, and it obviously has to go through, you know, for grant funding. But if we establish this type of uniformity, then the chances of us receiving, you know, the grant being renewed are more likely.
Sounds good to me. I mean, I would assume for, especially for Danielle and Daniel,
Right.
working in different towns, if the rules are all the same, nobody has to recall, oh, in this town, that
Exactly.
doesn't apply.
Exactly.
This town, this applies and this applies.
Yep.
So I mean, I can understand trying to align things.
Yeah, there was a meeting today and we were talking about that as well. And Jeannie Ganadnik from Northbridge, I mean, she really is very, very, yeah, she's very, very knowledgeable. She leads the charge on a lot of them. Matter of fact, she led the charge on even forming this coalition. And Erin Hightower in Uxbridge, are very, I mean, very resourceful. And that's really honestly how the coalition was founded because of COVID. And we were all overwhelmed
Right.
with
But how
everything.
good it would be to continue.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Well, now we have, you know, we have the epidemiologist on staff. We have 2 nurses on staff. Who else do we have, Jack?
Brand new job training coach.
Yeah, the job training coach. I mean, it's just really enhances the services. I can't say enough about it. I'm proud that we are all part of it.
So the coalition now is established for how many years?
Okay, so,
It
Um,
has to be
okay.
The grant is for 3 years.
Say 3 years.
Yeah,
so every
Yep.
3 years, it has to be awarded or
yeah. Well, you have to apply for it. And so we have Connor,
Connor.
who is salt of the
State.
earth, and he he keeps the coalition going. He applies for it. We also have our meetings within the coalition where we discuss, you know, like we discussed the need for an epidemiologist, you know, and Connor went out and, you know, and enhanced that part of the grant program. And we actually got somebody on board to do that, Jack, and he's fantastic.
So he's doing it for all the towns
Yeah.
at one time. It's not like each town has to
No.
put something, that's good.
Yeah, and then we have meetings and we all collectively, you know, discuss standardized forms, standardized regulations, whatever are the needs. And then Connor also keeps us up to date, and Deb keeps us up to date on, you know, like the stats of, you know, like right now they're discussing that they found more COVID cases in the wastewater. So, you know, you're paying attention to that. You know, they let you know, like the news that's going around, like there's a leprosy case in Florida right now. So these are things that you watch, you know, when we monitor, you know, the nurses, if there's, you know, if there's diseases that are on the uptick, you know, they let us know so that we are paying attention to that within our communities, you know, and you're hearing about the case, you're saying, oh, wait a minute. That was, you know, and then you let them know and we discuss that. It's just a great, you know, committee. I
Love
look
that.
forward to the
Yeah.
meetings.
I think that's good.
Well, and strength in numbers. It's always easier to
Absolutely.
apply for money from the state if there's a
Well, the-
large group
Yeah,
that can benefit from it.
the small
Dollars get
towns.
Multiplied, it's easier
Right.
to get those dollars.
Well, and that's why we were talking about like standardizing the forms and the regulations, because then you're almost like making yourself, you know, all of us collectively within the coalition, you know, like irreplaceable.
Right.
Well, and the food software, the inspection software is standardized,
Mhm.
right? We're all using the same program.
Yes. And now we're looking at the housing. That housing program was a nightmare though. But it would be nice to have that, you know, we use the manual form, which is fine. I mean, it's there, you know, but they tried to put the housing program on to the tablet and
Yeah.
It
please, yeah,
needs-
let's
it needs
add-
work.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, so that would apply to like Cape Road.
Mhm.
Okay, that's what
Yep.
that program would.
Yep.
Okay.
Speaking of, that location and just housing issues in general, how are we proceeding in terms of follow-up? What's?
I
our
spoke
action?
with Rebecca yesterday with
Yep.
regards, we're talking about 10 Cape Road.
Yeah, and I
Yep.
just think in general, you know, I know this, when things happen and, you know, you set a course of action.
Mhm.
What would be our typical follow-up plan to make sure that things are going as we want them to go in a timely fashion?
Well, they have X amount of days to bring the property into compliance per the letter. If they don't, you're going out on, you know, sometimes if we say 10 days, I'll be like, you know, the 12th day, just to give them some time,
Yeah.
you know?
And you're just I would think you're just looking at, some cases, not necessarily be completing it, but if you see positive progress.
Forward progress.
progress.
There has to be forward
Yeah,
progress.
in that case, we saw immediate
Mhm.
progress.
Mhm. He just has a couple more things, the pest control.
Yeah.
He has to put the rail, on the, stairs and, damn, there was one other thing. I don't remember. It just went right out of my head.
All right, not now that we're
Sorry.
talking about that, any,
I've
Talking to
heard
the
nothing
queen.
for Ken Northbridge.
Yeah, what happened with that?
I've heard nothing from him and Marcella.
yeah,
Yeah,
I'll give him a call tomorrow.
because I mean, I go by and I see him out there.
yeah, see, I've gone by and haven't seen
Oh,
a sign of anybody,
right,
and I know he said he was working on 2 jobs way out of town,
yeah.
like.
Have you been involved in that property yet, Colin?
And I saw the girl, I saw
No,
a woman there too.
Well, the tenant was supposed to
Except-
be gone.
There's a tenant and there's another tenant who lives upstairs.
With him.
I didn't know.
I don't know if it's a male tenant or a female tenant
Yeah,
that lives
I
upstairs.
only knew about the one that was living in the
Yeah,
basement.
upstairs.
Well, I saw.
he is gone.
She is gone.
Because when I went by there one day, like maybe 10 days or something ago, and I saw a woman out there doing looked like she was taking her shoes off and brushing them or something like that. That's what she was sitting on the step there. Yeah,
It's my understanding that she's gone.
okay.
Yeah, that was how the homeowner, that's what the homeowner told me in my phone conversation with him. And that was a while ago already.
And I don't know why he thinks
2 weeks.
that we don't have the ability to go over on his property with this, because this is,
Well, that was the one where the gentleman ended up, I think after Alan's visit, called and kind of apologized.
Yeah, he
for
apologized. I've been
outburst,
speaking with Alan.
oh,
For what he said. So that was
Yeah,
nice.
yeah.
However,
hasn't done anything.
what was the
Well, that's the
letter?
problem, because I reported back to the group at our last meeting. And he had a plan. He was interviewing engineers. He was gonna have it pumped. He had contacted Gibson. He was gonna have the cover fixed. And he was gonna keep us updated.
And he said that AJ Fisk was gonna be the one installing it.
Right, but
And
that's really,
Jay hasn't sent you a report that says he's pumped his septic, no.
and I was emphatic to make sure that that report got to us. So if you're gonna call him tomorrow
Mhm.
and you don't get a response, call me and I'll stay on his phone.
Okay.
Because two weeks has gone by with no communication, no update.
What I'd like to see us do is create, and I've kind of talked to Jack a little bit about this, is create some sort of a spreadsheet. We have these properties kind of come to us, start a tracking mechanism where we're listing the properties, and then kind of have some sort of a time frame with maybe columns of things checked off as to what was done. So I think what tends to happen historically, things like this always tend to fall through the cracks. Because other things come up and, you're moving on to the next one, all of a sudden, a month or two goes by and, oh, whatever happened at such and such a place, and you find out, well, nothing ever happened. Or it didn't advance the way it was supposed to advance. What I don't like is when we put out letters that, when we put out letters for timeframes that we want to see some actions, corrective action, because of serious situations. They need to know that there's something behind that.
Mhm.
Not that we're trying to monetarily find them, but there's gonna be some follow-up that we're
Well,
gonna be
there's,
knocking.
there's rules and everybody has to follow the rules. I mean, no matter what it is, if you can't go on the wrong side of the street. You can't do this, you can't do that. I mean, he has to follow the rules.
Yeah.
It's plain and simple. I mean, it seemed to me he was very arrogant. I thought that was frightening to me when he was talking about, it's where so many people have guns these days and is he gonna shoot you? I was,
Yeah, no, I
I
mean,
was worried about
But
that. I mean,
this
truly,
letter goes back to June 26th.
correct, right,
That's more than 30 days.
Absolutely.
right.
He didn't have 30 days to respond to this. And like I said, I had a very good conversation with him. I thought we understood each other as far as he needed to update us. And he hasn't. And so I'm disappointed that maybe things weren't the way he told me they were gonna go. So you're right. I mean,
It's time to, whether it be a call or
Knock
whether
on the
it be
door again.
or
Yeah.
knock on the door.
Call him and ask him if there's been any, hey, did you secure an engineer?
Yeah, and
know?
when did Gibson
Well, the
come to your
first thing, yeah,
septic system?
right,
And
the
if
the first thing he was supposed to do was, that was immediate,
Right,
was to have that system pumped,
Pumped.
that cesspool pumped immediately. And he was seeking guidance about repairing the cover while he gets a new system engineered.
Mhm.
And according to that letter, I think he's supposed to be pumping that thing once a month. Well, he's already missed a few.
right. Yeah, hello.
Unless John's
And
been
I mean,
there.
if you flush the toilet and it's gurgling out of the ground, you got a big problem.
Mhm.
Right.
Well, we don't know. Maybe he has been doing things. We just don't, he hasn't
Yeah,
reported
but
anything back.
I told him to make sure that we got the reports.
No, understood. I'm just saying, maybe things are happening, but since we're not being communicated to, maybe we need to go out and knock on the door and say, hey, what's up? How you doing? Maybe he is. He just hasn't reported it to us. So I don't want to jump to a conclusion, but it's up to us to probably knock on the door and say, hey, what's going on?
Well,
Well, it's really was up to him to send the septic system.
No, understood. But in lieu of the fact that he's not responding based on how he should have responded, we need to respond.
right, but
Yeah.
I was,
Well, that's
That's
what
all,
I'm saying.
that's all.
I was really clear
Right,
about how he had to respond. I was really clear. It was black and white. You know, that this needed immediate attention and that we wanted to help him through this. If you already, you talked to AJ right away, but talking to AJ Fisk to install a system that's not designed,
Exactly.
that needs to be pumped.
right. Just to
Isn't
get
exactly
things
the
straightened
order of
out, right,
operations
right.
Yeah.
that needs to be done. And if he read the letter and saw that, I mean, I think he had like 10 days to respond to us. He's not following.
I just want to make sure that we have some sort of mechanism in place for these properties that come to us.
Well, you're right.
Some tracking
Ken Cape
element.
Road unfortunately has come to us more than once. So it could come to us again.
And every situation is going to be a little different. The initial letter that we put out to somebody, the requirements that we put forth aren't going to be the same as somebody else. So it's going to depend on like the condition. So the variables and the time of response will be different. So that's why, but somehow I think we have to figure out a mechanism to,
On your computer, you're doing your daily stuff. Is there like how you can set alarms and can you set reminders?
Yeah.
All right, so is there a mechanism to set a reminder, like to go off like every Monday morning?
Yeah, because I send a reminder every afternoon to remind me to send E.L. Harvey the non-pickup list.
There you go. So that first thing Monday morning, that reminder pops up. And we know by the end of Monday whether or not action needs to be taken or, you know, whatever on that particular issue. Because this issue has gone 2 weeks
Right,
because
and he's not exactly forthcoming.
it's you know,
anyway.
we discussed it last meeting and it just it wasn't on the agenda. It just came up
Right,
at the bottom as we're talking about these things that seem to linger.
right.
So if we weren't having this discussion, we might not have caught this again.
Right.
That, oh, he hasn't responded. It's been quiet
Right.
because the tenant's gone and not making a complaint, but it's not fixed.
Right.
Right.
Or if it is fixed, to your point, we haven't been notified.
Correct. Yeah.
So maybe-
Well, we would be notified if it were fixed, just by the fact that we would have Stephen going out doing testing and this one doing the
Yep.
plan. So, I mean,
Yeah, there's no perk application
Yeah,
that's been
that's right,
filed
yeah.
yet, no
So,
plan
yeah,
review,
so-
so without that, it's
we
not
know
fixed.
nothing's happened, and we
Right.
haven't heard from Jay Gibson that says,
Yeah, I
you
mean,
know,
I
if-
pumped it
yeah, I
and put a new
pumped it,
cover
yeah,
on it,
right,
or,
yeah.
you know,
So he's bullshitting us in the word of.
Maybe, what if we, called, John and ask him if this gentleman has reached out to him with
Right.
regards to pumping off,
Right.
fixing the cover?
Mhm.
And if he says no, then we can still call the gentleman and, you know, if you guys want to give him you know, say, listen, we need to,
Look,
We need an
We gave you 2 weeks and
Yep.
it's already, you know,
Right.
we're trying to be,
we're gonna have to move
Right.
forward.
right. Or you're not gonna be able to live in that house.
Mm-hmm. How, it will
We'll
have,
condemn the house.
that's right.
Big bam boom.
Mm-hmm.
so do we call Gibson? What do
You
we
can.
call the homeowner? Who do we call first? I mean,
Well, we could do
it's the
the back- we could do-
homeowner's
We could do,
responsibility.
well, we could do
Right.
Call
both,
the
actually.
homeowner first, see if they respond back. If they don't respond back, you know, by, you know,
Okay?
Thursday, yeah, I mean, mid-afternoon or whatever, then just give a heads up to John.
Why
John
not
will
just
tell
make,
you.
Yeah.
why not just make both calls? So if one call doesn't produce anything, you could still make the call to John. If you're waiting for a message back from the homeowner, in the interim, you're reaching out to John just to see what his feedback is.
Yeah.
just
see
have
if
some more
he
data.
Collaborates.
Yeah.
Some more data to
I
see
could
what-
say
if
I
the owner
did,
does call
but-
back, is that
Because if
matching
it
with
doesn't-
what John's saying or?
I think we
You know,
know what's
Yeah,
going
you
on.
know,
if it was before 9, I'd dial him up right now. I mean,
Uh,
Yeah, because like you said, he's probably thinking, all right, well, the tenants moved out, so now I don't have, you know, there's not
Nobody's
that
gonna be telling,
emergency.
nobody's gonna be telling us.
you know, I have no reason to doubt that he's working out of town and
Yeah.
he's not there that much, but again, the conversation was pretty black and white and he knew what he needed to do and he needed to communicate it to us. So if 2 weeks has gone by with no communication, for whatever the reason is, that's not what the plan was.
Right.
Right,
And, you know, and maybe he got busy, maybe, whatever. We need to follow the plan,
right. Some sort of.
because we can't help him if he doesn't follow the plan.
Right,
If he follows the plan, we can work with him.
Yep.
You know? Call them both, please. Right? Yep. See who answers first.
like I said, John will tell you.
Oh, yeah, I mean, well, he has someone in the office, right?
Yeah,
So you'll get
His
a,
daughter,
yeah,
Yeah.
so you'll get a response even
Yeah.
if you don't get him right
he's been
away.
pumping my system
He's
for
out.
100 years.
mine too.
Anything else, folks?
We
That day
kind of
when they-
alluded to it
when they
earlier,
come
but the
into
Washington Street property there, what, so where does that stand with regard to determining if there's an issue with,
It was the DEP boil water order. I guess they went up,
Oh, okay, this is
Oh,
something
yeah.
else.
Yep,
no, no, I'm talking about Washington Street. The
the
property,
Washington Street or the Hastings
the
Plaza?
one with the,
With the Conservation Commission?
yeah, where Concom was supposed, somebody from Concom was
Oh.
to connect with Danielle.
Never heard back from the chairman of the, Carl, from the chairman of conservation about that.
Oh,
So never happened.
Right, so
never
the
happened.
last
Is
thing we
that,
heard
is
from
that
him
the
was he
same
was gonna.
thing that we were going through with, because the lady across the street was complaining about?
Yes.
Yes.
And they did check it and.
Danielle went there and checked the property.
It was Daniel, was it? Or it was
Danielle.
Danielle?
Danielle went there,
Right,
checked
and
the
said
property, took
everything was in-
pictures,
yeah,
exposed
said
everything
was
to
good,
Concom.
yeah.
And Concom was saying that they were gonna go out there and take a look, and Danielle wanted to be a part of it, so they were both on the same page. And I haven't heard back from the chairman about, she never contacted Danielle to set up that time.
Right, the last communication that I read from Carl was that he was gonna see who was
Yeah.
available.
That's right. That's what I said.
Yes,
And
and it just stopped.
Apparently nobody was available.
Well, that was the property too, that sometime back supposedly.
They looked at already, that Danielle went there.
But then the response back from a particular individual on Concom said, I don't think I did that.
right, because they cut some trees, I guess, to build another building.
Is that the same property?
Yeah.
Yes.
So there was a visit by, and this
Concom,
individual said, what walk? What walk?
yeah, he didn't do it.
Yeah.
Concom thought he did a walk, and he responded, no, I didn't do a walk.
Right, and I believe the property owner made the statement that they had conservation out there before they cut the trees. That's how conservation came on the radar,
Okay,
and then that couldn't be confirmed.
Hmm.
She's very nice. I worked for a mower and lawn last year. She's very nice. She's very approachable. I don't know why we can't seem to get everybody together
happy.
so that they can have a conversation and get this resolved.
Do they
Well, do
meet,
we- is
the
it-
Concom? Do they meet? Do they have meetings?
Concom has
They
meetings.
meet, oh yeah, they meet.
I'm stumped.
Yeah.
Well, could we send out a communication from the Board of Health? Just asking directly, what is the status? We haven't heard anything back. Can you tell us what the status is from your end? These are the types of things that fall through the cracks.
Well, it's my understanding from the homeowner on Washington Street that she's taking on water because this manure pile is blocking up the natural drainage. And then another neighbor who never took on water is taking on water.
Well, there is plenty of water right now. I mean,
Oh, there is.
I mean, my garden, terrible.
Oh, mine too, I know.
It's,
Hard.
my
I was
husband's ready to,
wallowing through the
Yeah.
lawn today when I was
Yeah.
mowing. I was hoping I wasn't gonna get stuck.
I know, I mean, all that land up there is glacial till.
Yep.
So, hello, that, it's wonderful when it's summer and you don't get a lot of rain and the roots can follow the water as it goes down, because it takes a while, but when you got all this rain, you got a lot of trouble.
Oh, yeah.
But I mean, from our standpoint, the animal inspector has gone out and done her job more than once.
Right. And said it
think
was fine,
We
and
need
said
that-
everything was
we
fine.
need that other component.
When you say more than once, I thought Danielle only made the one visit.
No, I think she's gone out as the animal inspector and done the annual inspection too.
Oh, on a separate,
Right.
Right,
okay, not, because I think the complaint had to do with,
manure,
manure.
right.
But we need conservation to go out there and say, yeah, it's in the conservation land. They need to move it or no,
It's
it's
not.
not in the conservation
Right.
land and they don't need to do anything with it.
Correct.
We can't
And get a grip.
make that determination. I mean, supposedly she's building a building out there.
Has the owner come back to us out of curiosity, just looking to say, hey, what's going on? Nope. Okay, this one.
Hmm.
Gotta light a fire. I'm
Gotta
ready,
be-
I'm
it's gotta
ready,
be-
I'm ready to light
It's
a
gotta
fire.
be under conservation.
I'm ready to light a
Listen,
fire.
unfortunately, it appears as though
It's
something's not
conservation.
going well in
Yeah.
that.
Right, and it is conservation, because unless you guys have animal regulations with setbacks for manure,
Well, we do when it comes to wells. Right? I believe a manure pile has to be like 100 feet away from a well.
so is that in your well regulations?
That was in our well regulations.
I'd have to look, I don't recall.
That's not there are regulations for where you can put a manure pile. I know I've read them.
Mhm.
So I might be confused, but I know you can't Well, maybe it's not in the
I
well
know,
regulations,
just
maybe
teasing
it's
you.
somewhere else, but I know
Yeah,
I mean, who would put a new?
On their
well?
well.
you'd be surprised.
I mean,
You would be surprised.
so, but that's not the situation here. The situation is, the accusation is that it's in the wetlands.
Right,
And Danielle's picture shows it next to a bunch of skunk cabbage. So if it's not in the wetlands, it's definitely in the 100-foot buffer zone,
right.
but that's conservation.
That's
Mhm.
right, yeah. It's not our
Right.
job.
Step on their toes.
We can only have so many jobs,
Right.
and that one's not ours.
No, we were the reporting authority. We made the
Right.
Concom aware of it and the ball's in their
I
court,
will.
as they say.
Yeah.
I hate playing tennis internally. I want to take the ball and I want to shove it down somebody's throat, but I want to do it.
Okay, well.
But we did, though.
I'll
I
clap
mean-
For you.
All right.
Yeah,
Um,
we did. I mean, it's out of our hands now.
no,
Right.
well, it is from the standpoint of a response, but I don't see any reason why we can't put out a formal, say, hey, what's up?
Yeah,
Because tell you the truth, I would personally not have any problem taking an issue like this, if I had to, up the chain.
Well, based on before the May election, when Lonnie was sitting right there, Lonnie was perfectly aware
Yeah.
that maybe conservation wasn't being as responsive
Mhm.
to the residents as they needed to be.
Yeah.
But again, that was right before the election. The
Hmm.
board has changed. I don't know if anything was communicated to the other members of the board that, hey, I just was at this meeting and I'm seeing, this, and
Yeah.
maybe it didn't get passed on, but I would assume that especially where we don't have a select board member on meetings right now, that someone is reviewing
nothing's doing anything.
what we're discussing and hearing what's going on.
Mhm.
You think?
Either a select board member or the town administrator
Oh,
would know what's,
No, we don't have anybody on tonight.
right, but I would assume even if they're not with us live,
Yeah,
they're
they could look at
in
the,
the background checking out what's going on.
Did we send them an email,
Who
Concom?
Should assume.
to say, please reach out to Danielle to say what time's good for you guys.
Yeah, and they
And
didn't respond.
No response.
But did we send them the pictures and everything? Yeah.
it's
mind boggling.
beyond mind boggling. I don't like being ignored.
Well,
Simple as that.
Mm.
And that's what, again, maybe there's an explanation. But right now, we're being ignored. Plain and simple.
told by the property owner on Washington Street that whoever she talked to from conservation said that the members of the conservation board are all volunteers. And that conservation member that made that statement is gonna turn it over to Jack, because Jack was a paid employee.
Mhm.
Well,
And
they
I say that with reservation.
they volunteered to do the job.
Exactly.
Hello?
So I don't understand. I don't know if this person.
I'm sorry.
When you
Are
say,
you all three volunteers as well?
when you say they're volunteers, aren't they appointed?
Well, they are, but
But we're voted in, but
you
they're
raise your
appointed.
hand.
They're
or
appointed.
They're
I
appointed.
They,
solemnly
they
swear
agreed to be
to serve
appointed.
my
They didn't
communities.
get locked up in chains and say, you're gonna be on
Yeah,
conservation.
they agreed to take on a responsibility.
I mean, it's very possible this person was caught on a bad day. It's very possible that maybe what was reported to me didn't happen exactly like it was reported to me.
Yeah.
Well,
because
they're not doing
obviously
anything.
this property owner is getting very frustrated.
Mhm.
So like I said, I'm repeating those comments with
Right.
reservations because
Yeah.
I have no ill feelings towards conservation and I certainly don't want to tell them what to do, but it seems that conservation issues keep cropping up at Board of Health meetings
Yes.
and we can't help these people
Right.
because we're not on the
That's not our
conservation.
job.
board.
Right.
But this has happened at least twice in recent time.
Weeks, yes.
So I don't know where the disconnect is.
Well, like I said, at minimum, I think we should do a reach out, a formal, you know,
Say
say, you know, what, where do we stand? We haven't heard anything.
Right.
That's who they answer to.
Right, so maybe CC the
Not trying to
board of
cause
selectmen.
Anybody any grief.
No, but we're, like
They're
you said,
appointed by them.
right, that's my thing there. That's their appointing authority.
And that's why I talk about up the chain, because it came from them, that level.
Right.
So if, whether it's us as a board or whether residents in town have an issue with a non-response from a particular group that was appointed by another group, then that group, that appointing group should hear about it. Be quite honest
Yeah, I agree.
and do something.
I agree.
You know what I mean?
Well,
Yeah.
because the fact of the matter is that, like you said, it was
I agree.
reported to the Board of Health.
Definitely.
So, you know,
Gonna
I
say,
mean,
yes,
we
I'll do this
kind
job.
of
You
feel
take an
a
oath. They have
responsibility
to take
to
an oath.
provide
to
them
Luba,
the
same
support,
thing.
you know.
Oh, yeah, Lutheran, you're right.
You know,
We're-
I mean,
we're volunteers.
that's how
We're
I
all
feel anyway.
volunteers.
when something's
We're getting-
going ahead. Right.
So.
And it, you know,
when it's
to do the
outside
best you
of
can do.
our-
And I
Realize.
respect
Yes.
everybody who steps
Can't
forward,
help
believe me,
we're
to do
frustrated.
it, but you
But
gotta,
we know where
Yeah.
to point them,
You know.
but
Let's
we
get it
still stay attached to it because
Right.
it was reported to us. I understand
All
that,
these
you know?
people are our neighbors and our friends. They're all
Absolutely.
members of our community, so we want to help them.
And by the way, they're right up the street from me.
They are. They're slightly uphill.
Right.
And we know what flows downhill.
Yes, right, with regularity.
well, let's see
Yes.
what we can get back.
Anything else? Nope.
I
Next
make a
meeting,
motion, we adjourn.
well, first we need a next meeting.
Oh, okay.
Next meeting would be Wednesday, August 23rd.
Wow, imagine the end of August.
7:30.
I can't even believe
7:30,
it.
good with everybody?
My life
7:30,
is
yep.
going before my eyes.
I will not be able to attend.
He's gonna be running.
I will definitely be on vacation.
Sure.
Good for you.
100% sure. I wasn't sure the last time, but now I'm sure.
All right.
He thought he was gonna be with me. huh?
Yeah, I thought I was gonna be with you on the Cape, but you went before me. I hope you
Sure
left
be.
me a piece of Cape.
Was your
Okay.
vacation, was it family or was it the women?
No, the family.
It was the
Yeah,
family.
yeah. No, my sister and I,
Okay,
my sister and I,
the girls.
just us, yeah.
All right, now we need a motion.
Move.
All right. Thank you all.
Thank you all. Yep. Good conversation, huh?
Absolutely.
Okay.